Welcome to today's episode of the Live Shit
Get Banned
podcast. We're getting so much better at that. And we actually need to celebrate because we have a collective audience of over 200 followers now.
Wow.
Yeah.
And 9 5-star reviews.
Yes. Thank you so much for your ratings, everybody. That's very cool. Also, if anybody gives us a 1-star review or anything below 5, you're getting burpees in your program for the rest of your life.
And if you're not a client, we'll somehow find a way to get burpees into your program.
We will find you and we will put burpees in your program.
And I think, because we're going to talk about screen time based off of a Monday live call that we did for our group coaching clients on something that's called the dose principle by a guy called TJ Power, who I came across a few years ago, and it instantly resonated with how I was feeling at the time. And I think it's something that I've shared a lot with clients and anyone that will listen over the last few years, because it's about feeling more in control of our relationship with technology, phone usage, stuff like that.
Which is so prominent, it's so accessible. And we are the first generation of people, you know, we weren't born with phones. Like, we didn't have phones, not like born with them, but we didn't have phones when we were children. And we've gone through that transition. Whereas, generations now wouldn't. I mean, technology's always been a part of that. So it's quite a cool place to be, actually.
Yeah. Our generation, I think, with technology has been quite strange.
Yeah, it's been really strange. But there's been so many things neurologically that we've adapted to, which is why we're all insane.
My first was like a Sony Ericsson. I can't remember the exact, I think it was a flip phone that me and my friends used to, before Bluetooth was even on phones, we used to infrared port like Akon songs to each other and stuff like that.
In the park.
Yeah.
Wanna make up right.
Yeah, and I can remember my mum picking me up and me being like, hang on mum, like it's nearly there, like having to like
it would take
put the phones
ages
together, for one song. So it could be my ringtone.
Yeah, it's a good day. What was that one Akon tune that he got on everybody's phone? What was it? Or was it,
I remember Lonely. I don't know if that's the one you're thinking
was
of.
it, yeah.
I think that might have been a lot of people's ringtone.
Banger, absolutely banger.
But there's a lot to the kind of dose idea, and dose is dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins. And we said on the live call, we're not going to think about all of those brain chemicals. We mostly focused on dopamine and endorphins because they're the most relevant to training and how we eat, and the other bits around it, like we spoke about on the call, like with our phone usage. How we use our phones in the mornings, in the evenings, can directly impact how motivated we feel that day, how driven we feel, how calm we feel in the evenings, our sleep quality. So it really is important. And I think it can start to sound a little bit hippie when you start talking about how our lives are so far removed from what our brains were designed for, but there's a lot of truth behind it. So I would recommend anyone checking out TJ's stuff. But it prompted us to do a little screen time challenge, didn't it? Which I won the first one with me, you and Rachel. But I think this is a good example of how sometimes it doesn't matter how aware you are of this stuff. I've read the book cover to cover. I've listened to every podcast TJ has ever brought out, but I still have weeks where my phone usage is a lot higher than I'd like it.
Everybody does. And this was me a couple of weeks ago, mainly because I was chronically shopping online.
I'm normally watching golf YouTube most of the time.
So we've based this actually on social media specifically because we both obviously use our phones for work, for travel, for chronically shopping online, watching golf on YouTube, which, we could argue is productive to be using
as far
phones.
as the dose stuff is concerned, long-form content is better for our brains than doom
There we go. So don't come off of the podcast, guys. Keep listening because we're okay.
Yep.
We're anti-brain rot. That's what we're here for. But in terms of swiping, scrolling, you don't use TikTok, do you?
No, I've never had a TikTok account.
No, see, I just use it to
Instagram.
post on, but I don't scroll on there.
From Monday to today.
Okay.
And we'll see who we think has the lower average.
Oh, mine's higher than I thought.
Monday to Thursday, obviously not including today.
Okay, what's yours?
What, yesterday?
The whole week. So Monday to today.
Okay, mine's not horrendous.
Okay.
Mine begins with a 1.
Me too.
Next number's a 3.
Me too. Is it the same?
And then the next number's a 1.
We are 1 minute out of each other because my daily average is 1 hour, 3 minutes. Oh. I know, 31 minutes.
1 hour, 31 minutes.
Yeah, I win. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, you beat me by like 20 something minutes.
Finally, my moment has come.
By the time we sit down to record a podcast next, what's the forfeit going to be? I feel like it should be some kind of challenge in the gym that we record and post.
Let us know in the comments, guys, if there's anything that you would like to challenge us with. Nothing too mean, by the way. Actually, I'm winning. Make it mean. Make it as mean as you can. And you can hold us accountable, just like we do for you guys. But us staying off of our phones and doom scrolling.
I think some kind of burpee challenge or split squat challenge.
Yeah, that'd be funny, actually. Yeah. And we'll record it.
Yeah, your usage has come down a lot, hasn't it? Last time it was high.
Yeah, that's because I was going through a crisis.
Maybe I've been going through a crisis. I don't know.
So the topic that we would like to unfuck this week is the one concerning habit formation.
Yeah.
And one of our fabulous Blitz Your Bits clients this week said something, it made my brain turn some cogs this week, because she said in her check-in that she really struggles to habits. And the reasoning behind it is because she said that she doesn't find it a natural thing to do and that she actively has to try. And we spoke about the comparison to other people who seemingly have all of their shit together. They wake up in the morning, they spring out of bed, they hop over to the gym, and they find actually having that element of routine easy.
Yeah.
Which I think is interesting. It's something that we get quite a lot is, how do you stay so motivated all the time? Yeah. How do you just, get all of this stuff done? And we spoke about how actually the process of building habits is challenging. It should feel like there is friction and it should feel hard. And that's not to say that it doesn't get easier over time. But initially, to create those habits especially, it's not meant to feel like a breeze. You have to make a conscious effort to get stuff done. And the way that I like to think about this is that you don't just wake up in the morning and feel like you want to brush your teeth or you want to go downstairs and make a coffee. It's something that you still have to put a little bit of effort into doing. Yeah. But it just gets a little bit easier over time, the more that you practice it.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those, like, the best example is, if it was easy, everybody would have the habits that they want to have. It's really not easy. And I think there's so much individuality to it. Like, we will see every now and then, and they are absolutely the anomaly, a client that you set them habits and they just do it.
Yeah.
And it's not difficult for them to receive a plan, follow the plan without much thought. But I think there's a lot of that comes down to just the way that we're wired. So there's, I think, a little bit of kind of our genetic makeup, but then there's also the lives that we have and the life that we're trying to kind of build those habits in and around. Like, my adherence on a diet was so much easier when I was a uni student, when all I had to think about was myself, when the only parts of my identity were playing FIFA, getting drunk, and going to the gym. Uni it didn't even come into that, which
Zero
studying.
Should have. Zero studying happened.
Whereas now there's so many other parts to my identity, like the business that I run, being a part of Henley Fitness, being a dad, being a husband, and trying to focus on my own stuff is a small part of that identity. And then you've got like the environment part of that. And I think there's so much to habit formation that it's just not a fair comparison to compare ourselves to someone else. It's not an even playing field based off all of those things.
If you are comparing yourself and saying, well, why can't I do this? Everybody else around me seems to be doing it very easily. Number one, it shouldn't feel easy. And number two, everybody's lifestyle is entirely different. And just because you're finding more challenging to create a new habit, it doesn't mean that you're broken. It just means that perhaps we need to explore different ways of doing it and maybe layer in an element of accountability.
It almost sounds a little bit blunt. It probably doesn't. This is probably just me being too nice. But
nothing that you ever say sounds blunt.
Like, to say that it should be hard, it's almost a little bit unfair to ourselves to expect it to be easy, because we're talking about an identity shift. I think like the end goal of habit formation is that it's just part of your identity. It's just part of who you are. Going to the gym is just a part of your week that you don't have to think about. Eating in a certain way, getting protein with each meal is just something you don't have to think about. It's just part of how you eat. It's part of the life you live. And that identity shift that we're comparing day one of trying to build a new habit to is from weeks and months and years of repeating that habit where unless you're a bit of an anomaly and you find habit formation very easy, which is like 1 in 100 of the clients that we work with, there is going to be lots of friction, and there should be lots of friction, because the habit that you've currently got is one that you don't want and you're trying to change. But that is part of your identity. It is automatic. You don't really have to think about it. And I think it's not fair on ourselves to expect that change to be easy.
I love the saying, if you want something to change, something has to change. That's really stuck with me over the years. And knowing that if we are changing an element of our lifestyle, we're pushing out of the comfort zone and we're creating friction and discomfort, and we have to push through that element of discomfort. And even if it's not, like, it could just be waking up a bit earlier. It could be forcing yourself to go for a walk when you don't want to. It doesn't need to be huge, but it is still creating that element of discomfort. It's not meant to feel easy, and that's okay. And it's interesting you said that everybody has different timelines on how long habit formation takes. There's a really interesting study done back in 2009. I think it had like just under 100 participants, so a very broad range of people, male and female, and they tested individuals over the course of 86 days. So they introduced different habits and they assessed each day how easy it felt to do that habit. So if it felt normal, if it felt automatic, if it felt like something that they had to actively try and do. And it was also based on health habits. So it was a 15-minute walk, I think it's drinking a glass of water, and another one as well. And from the data that they collected, they established that on average, each of those individuals took around 66 days to establish that habit. And interestingly, some participants didn't even finish. Like, they didn't start their new habit. I think some of them drifted off towards the end. And it just shows that if you're in week 2 of a new program and you're thinking, God, why doesn't this feel easy? It should feel more natural to me at this point. That, number one, everybody is so different depending on so many different lifestyle factors, but also that it's meant to take time, and that's okay. It's not meant to be something that we just switch a button and we can change.
This is kind of the journey that I went on when I started to move away from being very wrapped up in self-development. But we can end up in this quite dangerous middle ground of viewing discipline and hard work as a negative thing. There is definitely the kind of more extreme, more kind of a toxic, if we want to use that word, side of self-development, where it implies that we're not good enough the way we are and we constantly have to try and get better, and it kind of starts to blend into perfectionism. It can make us feel like discipline and hard work are kind of like
is a natural
bad words.
Yeah, well, also like that it's a natural thing to some people, and if you're not that, then you're not good enough and you can't do it. And something that we hear all the time is, I'm just not a motivated person. I'm not motivated, or I'm not disciplined. But actually, you have to almost create that motivation and create that discipline and do the thing first and do it when it feels hard. And that is then what creates that momentum. Instead of waiting for the motivation and waking up in the morning and the birds singing and being like, woo, I'm going to go and get today, because trust me, it doesn't happen. If you think that that's what we do every morning, incorrect.
Yeah, far from it.
Yeah.
Not until I've had this anyway.
No, at least one.
And I think that example is really good because, as you just said, if your identity is, I'm not a motivated person, I'm not a disciplined person, what are we going to tell ourselves as soon as it goes wrong? That story of, this isn't me, I'm not motivated, I'm just meant to be undisciplined. And we're trying to change the way that we view ourselves and the way we think about ourselves, which takes time.
This is why setting small goals is so incredibly helpful as well, ones that are attainable, and grabbing hold on to that low-hanging fruit, because the way that we start to build up that trust in ourselves is through setting a goal or, a small challenge for the week and then actually doing it and then proving to ourselves, oh, I am somebody that can achieve those things. And this is something that we work on with you guys, is actually setting targets that feel manageable and that fit into your lifestyle, instead of, okay, every day I'm going to go out for an hour walk and I'm going to train 5 times this week, that's going to feel really hard for some people. And you're feeding into that narrative of, I'm not good enough. I'm somebody that isn't disciplined enough to train 5 days a week. Whereas actually, if you set a smaller goal, you can build up that trust in yourself gradually over time. I'm somebody that can, go for a quick 15-minute walk after lunch.
It is a big part of what we do as coaches, is holding up that mirror and saying, okay, I hear you. I understand why you feel like that, but let's not be a dick to ourselves.
How many times a week do we say that to clients? Stop being a dick to yourself.
And that mirror is saying, at the minute we feel like we're not disciplined enough, we can't stick to stuff, but actually, this isn't me making it up. Here's some evidence that you did achieve X this week. And it's almost, I always use the analogy of like an old-fashioned weighing scales. At the moment, if we have tons of evidence that we are feeding into that narrative of, I can't do this, I'm not good enough, I'm not motivated, we just start to try and find more evidence on this side, so it starts to slowly tip the other way. But like we said about it taking time, we are putting tiny little pebbles each week on the positive side until that scale starts to tip in that direction.
Every single week doesn't need to be a huge jump. We don't need to be constantly adding to those elements too. So say, for example, 1 week you hit your step target. It doesn't mean that necessarily the following week we had to then increase the target. Or if you did 4 workouts this week, we don't need to then strive for 5 the following week. Building up consistency and progress can sometimes just look like repetition. And that might seem quite mundane, but that is how we build habits, by repeating some things that might feel a little bit less novelty. But it's building up the consistency as opposed to trying to strive for perfection all of the time. Yeah,
and like we said in our last podcast episode about our brains constantly wanting to chase novelty and the dopamine rush we get from that, habit formation should be a little bit boring because we always think that we can move quicker than we can. When in reality, if we achieve something 1 week and we start to practice that habit, the right advice is often, great, show me you can do it next week.
Let's do it again.
Our brain goes, well, but I've done that. So what about we add this on and we add this layer? And it's like, no, let's do it again next week.
Do it again.
Yeah. And then when we've done it 2 or 3 weeks in a row, then we can add the next layer on. And quite often we do trip ourselves up by trying to jump ahead.
And if you are somebody who has struggled with this in the past, if you are constantly chasing the new shiny object, or you're finding yourself giving up after a couple of weeks of trying something new, trying to get into the gym, trying to get your body moving, or whatever it is, come and reach out to us for support. Come and get involved in the group coaching program. We've got spaces opening up in a few weeks' time. This is what we're here to support you with the accountability, with making sure that you have a soundboard when things do go wrong, and so that we can navigate through those hurdles together.
Yeah, because we are not often good at holding that mirror up to ourselves. So having someone else hold that mirror up can be really helpful. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Lift Shit Get Banged podcast. But we hope you guys enjoyed that one, and we'll catch you next week.